Hi.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right. I'm afraid that I am without Reggie, though. I've had to come into the office, but I really wanted to. But I wanted to talk to you. I wanted to hold the session still, and I didn't think it was necessary to have
Okay.
him. So I hope that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's absolutely fine.
Okay, cool.
So talk to me. What's happening with little Reggie these days? It feels like ages
He's
since we've spoken.
yeah. No, he's doing great. He really is. I mean, he's sort of calming down a little bit. He's still a puppy, so he's still but he's much more, he seems much more comfortable in his own skin, if you like, less bitey, and and the toilet training's coming along. I mean, it's still a little bit hit and miss, but he's so much better than he was. But I think once with the days longer, it's easier. Like when I wake up in the morning at 6:30, it's light outside, so we can have a nice long time out in the garden. And he does his business and whatever. But sometimes I don't quite get to him early enough in the morning. So, if if I say I get up about 6:30 most days, sometimes if he's woken and he's needed to go, he'll go. But, but we'll get there. I'm very confident we'll get there. So, he's good on the toilet front. The things I've got on my list to talk to you about are just some
Okay.
general tips on when we take him out for walks, just general etiquette with him, and just some behavioral things I've noticed, and just looking for some tips on how to deal with those. I think he's teething. So I want to talk to you about some observations I've had, and I want you to confirm it is teething, and just anything sort of generally in that kind of space. And then one other thing, again, around, it was just, I think it might be relative to teething, was just we had an incident at the weekend where he didn't poo all day, and I was a bit concerned about him. It only lasted 24 hours. The next day he made up for it. But I just wanted to, that maybe aligned to teething, I'm not sure, but just your experience in that
Okay.
space as well.
Okay.
So those are the things I have.
So do you want to start with the lead, the walk-in stuff first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Reggie, I mean, he loves his back garden, and he loves going. He likes being on walks once he's on the walk. Well, I don't say loves. Probably a little bit over the top. But as soon as we put on, he's one of those dogs. You put on his coat, you put on his harness, you put on his lead. He literally turns to stone. He will just go up, and he doesn't want to go anywhere, and we have to lift him up to get him at the front door. It's better off going in the car and driving somewhere than it is trying to walk from the house. He's a very
Okay.
reluctant passenger, if you like. So there's one thing there. How do we try and, because quite often when we do get out to the park or something, he does enjoy it. We have at times in the right parks and in the right it has to be the right place, let him off the lead, and he's very good. He really is. He doesn't go far. I don't worry that he's going to scoot off somewhere.
Mhm.
Obviously I've always got that, I've got to be careful he's not spooked by something and he
Mhm.
shoots off, but generally he's been good. But we're very, very careful about where we do that, because obviously we live in London and it's quite heavily populated, and so
Mhm.
there's not huge amounts of green space that goes on and on and on and on. But no, the thing that is the most is that he loves other dogs, no doubt about it. He's big, small, he doesn't care. He's very intrigued by other dogs. He likes to, particularly Dachshunds, he loves them, but humans not so much. And he's quite interesting because I mean, I sort of joke that he sort of racially profiles people. He seems to be worse with black people. And I'm like,
Okay.
it's almost like people that don't look like those that he sees regularly.
Yeah.
So toddlers, I say anyone from an ethnic minority he's not great with. Um, he's all right with teenage boys. He look like my kids. Yeah, anyway, you get my point. So he gets quite growly, and then people obviously look at him and say, "Oh, isn't he cute?" And then he goes, you know. So any tips on that?
Okay.
And then I've got another one as well, but that was one of my big. So those are my first two. Sorry, I'm talking a lot. Yeah.
No, you're absolutely fine. That's what we're here for. So with the first thing, so with him like leaving the house, so I know you might think it's a little bit strange to say this, but try him without a coat or a jumper on. So it some of it could be that when they have like coats, harnesses, or jumpers on, it touches pressure points around their body, and sometimes it can feel a bit weird for them. So sometimes that might be that kind of stone stiffening up you're getting. And before you're going out on your walk, literally have a few minutes around the house. So have him on his lead, have loads of treats, and literally just get him walking, get him moving with you. And as soon as he's walking and he's alongside you, just literally say yes, and then give him a little reward. So he's like, oh, okay, this is what you want me to be doing. Because sometimes that transition from in the house to out the house, because there's so many different smells that are going to come in as soon as that door opens, it's worth just having that few minutes just walking around, so he's like, oh yeah, okay, I've got this, I know what it is that you want me to do today. So that would be the first bit. The second bit around I'm going to say socialization, because that's what it is. That's what it is. He's just not he's not been socialized with other people outside of the family. So excuse me. So for him, it's going to be a little bit worrying that he can see somebody and they don't potentially interact with him how he expects them to. So it's no different whether we're talking somebody of an ethnic background or whether we're talking of a child that's much smaller, much faster, much louder, or an older person that might have, like a walking stick on, really generalizing here, but someone that's got a walking stick might have like a flat cap on, glasses, beard, that type.
He doesn't like them either.
Okay. So it's really about making him feel really comfortable. So if you're going into the park and you see somebody that he is going to respond to by kind of growling, then I would give him loads of space. So make sure that he's at a far enough distance that he can still get your he can still focus on you. So literally call his name, Reggie, and get him to look at you, and then let him have a look at the other person. So the person that he would normally growl at, let him just look. So this could be at a really big distance. It might be like the other side of the park. And as soon as he sees them, just say yes and give him a reward. So what you're doing is you're changing that association that he's currently got of, oh, this person's a bit scary, they don't look like what I'm used to oh, actually, they're okay. Yeah, I get something good. When I look at that person, I get something good. What I would really avoid is letting anybody come in to his space. So at the point that they're coming into his space, he's feeling a little bit worried. And that's probably why he's seeing that growling from it, or hearing that growling from it. Because he's a bit like, whoa, you're too close. I don't recognize you. You're not part of my family. You look a bit strange, and I need you to give me space. And that growling could be two things. So he could be saying, leave me alone, get away from me. It could be linked into his teething. So he could be in a bit of pain there. Or he could be saying, get me out of this situation. This person's too close to me. Get their Morley hands away from me. Okay. And if anybody is a little bit persistent with you, then just say, no, please give him space, he's in training. And literally just block his, so block Reggie with your body. So use your legs to kind of get in between him, or in between another dog, or in between another person. So that he's got protection from you. And then what will happen there is that over time, he will then be feeling more reassured that you've got his back, that he doesn't need to respond that way. He can just look at you, or he can communicate with you to get him out of that situation.
Okay.
So just take it slowly. If we keep putting him into that situation where, like, other people, you're right, the cute little Daxi puppy, and everyone wants to come and say hi. And sometimes people are very they're very well meaning, but for a tiny puppy, it's actually really scary for them. So if somebody comes in to his space and kind of puts a hand over the top, they are risking Reggie responding, in nipping and things like that. So what we want to do is like stop that straight away. If you get someone that comes over, then I would literally say to them, just stand still and put your hand down. So the back of the hand, don't put the hand into him, literally have the hand at the side of them. And if he chooses to go over, then let him choose that. If he doesn't, then that's fine. Just say, sorry, he's not in the mood today, he's a bit of a diva, and off you go.
Okay. All right.
So you're removing
Okay.
that kind of threat level from him.
Yeah. Cool.
I
All right.
think he
I'll
gets to learn
practice
that
some
it's
of those.
okay for him to make that choice to
Yeah.
not interact.
Yeah. Super. Thank you. And so the other thing he sometimes does, and this is back to his reluctance, is, he's on the lead, he'll trot along and then he'll suddenly lie down. He'll do his big white puppy eyes like that. And, his sort of paws sort of go up. He's, like that. And he just will not move. And I just go, come Reggie, not might give him a treat. I just say, come Reg. And then he'll trot along again, another sort of 20 meters, stop again, sometimes if I'm the other day I was arranging to meet somebody, and like what should have taken me 10 minutes was taking me, so I had to carry him, and he's quite heavy now. So is he telling me, what's he telling me? I can't work out what he's telling me. I don't want to go for this walk. Or if he's telling, I just was curious because it's a very, as I say, he doesn't sit down, he lies down and he gives me those big eyes. It just says, Mummy, don't do this to me. And I kind of feel bad.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Is there anything else around when he's doing that? Is what's happening?
No. Like the other day I was walking across the heath and there was no one around. It was just grass, it wasn't anything that could have been worrying him. Well, I don't think so. We were too far away from the traffic. We weren't near any other dogs. We weren't near any other people. So yeah.
Okay. So in terms of relation to when he'd had his last meal, in relation to that walk?
Well, that walk was that was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so he wouldn't have eaten anything. I only see, he only gets fed morning and evening now, aside from treats.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that would have been the time of day it was.
Okay, so the chances are that he may have been a little bit bored. He may have been thinking, I'm going to try and get some attention from doing something that I know gets me attention. And laying down is one of them. It may be that the environment was a little overwhelming. So it may be that if he's been able to smell a lot of things going off, and it may just be that he literally just wanted to wait for a few minutes just to take in what was going off around him. Or he may just not been in the mood for walking.
Yeah. Okay. He's done it a few times. That's all.
Yeah. What I would say.
Go on.
Does he do anything before he lays down?
No, he literally just stops and turns to stone, and he just gets down, and it's and I worry I'm going to hurt him because I'm walking. And if I haven't got the extendable lead,
he comes on
yeah, yeah. I mean, I just
okay.
It could be any of those things.
So yeah, it literally is very difficult to like give you a very specific for that. If there was another dog around and he was laying down, then that could be different things. If there were, if there was other things going off, likelihood is that he's probably not fancying the walk, or he's like, what's in this for me? So thinking of that. Like, is this worth my while? So if he knows that you've got some treats with you, maybe just have a little bit more of excitement with him. Come on, Reggie, let's go. Drop a treat for him. And then if you know that, say, I know you mentioned like 20 meters, then he does it again. So if you get to around that 15-meter mark, that's when he gets the reward to prevent him from then laying down. So you kind of getting him out of that cycle of walking a particular distance and then laying down, and then you're having that battle. So if you can for that, get the rewards out, get some attention on you. There's a really nice easy game that you can play, and you can play it in the house as well and then take it outside with you. Literally have some treats in your hand, tiny little ones, and throw one out to the side of you. So you're basically getting him to chase the treat. When he gets it, just say yes, and what you're looking for is that he comes back to you. Okay, and then you literally throw a treat from the opposite direction. When he gets the treat, yes, so he comes back to you. Okay, so he'll pick the treat as he's picking the treat up, yes, and then he'll come back into you. And then you can just play that. You can play that on your walks as well, so it doesn't matter what kind of lead you're on. You're not going to throw the treat massively, in a space, and then you can change yes to find it. So then you can start playing find it when you go on your walks, and you can literally throw a treat out, let him find it, and then that way he's got that interaction going as well. Because remind me how old he is now?
Just over 5 months.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's going to be, there's going to be a lot of stuff going off for him, like body and mind wise as well, in terms of he may be going into kind of as adolescence. There may be a lot of hormones going around in his system, and obviously the teething element there as well. So some of it could be pain.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bit of a grey area as to give you a very specific as to
no, that's
this
useful.
is why he's lying down. But there's a few things that you can do there to kind of get him moving again.
Yeah, cool. Okay, good.
And then you mentioned around behavioural and teething.
Yeah, so he obviously he has lost at least one tooth. I appreciate he may have lost more and we just haven't seen them because they're so tiny, but he's definitely lost one. And he so there's a few things that make us think he's suffering with his teeth a bit. So he does this lot like that, doing this with his tongue, like he's got something caught in his mouth. And I think when he lost his tooth, he was doing that a lot, and then the tooth got dislodged. So, and then the other thing we've noticed more is he's like he's not coughing a lot, but he does his coughing. And then the weekend he was bringing up like a very it wasn't even white, it was like just spittle, like clear spittle. And it's quite dramatic when he, it's like when a cat has a fur ball. It's a bit like that,
Okay.
But that passed. I mean, he did it this morning, but he didn't bring up anything. So I didn't know whether that coughing thing was linked to the teething. I did order some teething gel from Amazon. It hasn't arrived yet. I don't know whether that's going to be any good. And I've done all the things with the frozen tea towel, and he's got carrots, and he's got enough things to chew on to try and. But I was just wondering whether and then of course, like I said to you, he had that constipation thing. I don't know whether that was just a bit gastric, something or other. He'd eaten something dodgy in the garden, or I mean, I can't control 100%. None of us can. If a dog's going outside, what they eat. He had a frog in his mouth the other day. I mean, he caught a bloody frog.
Great, that will make him gag.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh my god. So yeah, I was just curious whether but no, let's say the constipation passed quite relatively quickly, but I just wondered if it was all connected, what else on the teething I can do to help him.
Likelihood is that it's going to be all connected. So teething, so think about when your kids were teething, think about when you may even be able to remember if you had a wobbly tooth, like when he had like a wobbly tooth and they're quite painful. So that obviously that mulling around in his mouth, that is going to be linked to teething. So if he's got a wobbly tooth and he's trying to kind of get it, or it's pinching on his gum, then he's going to try and get that out because it's going to be annoying for him. The best thing you can do is have a little game of tug. So having a rope toy and a tug. And literally just like let him sink his teeth in and kind of like pull a little bit. It sounds a little bit it sounds a little bit
no.
It gets it out, and then obviously once that teeth is out, then there's still got the adult teeth to come through. So it is painful for them. It can upset their tummies, so they can have runny tummies, or they can get constipation. They might have some sleepless nights through it, like waking up disturbed nights, toileting, things that you've kind of thought you'd gone past, and then suddenly you go back a little bit too. And it's going to boil down to pain. Now, you're doing the right stuff in terms of you've got the frozen tea towel, you've got the carrots, broccoli stems, that kind of stuff to actually soothe, to give him that edge that he may need. But the rope toy is going to be a good one as well, because he's going to be able to really chew into it and kind of wriggle those teeth out. Ultimately, they're still going to have to, the new ones are still going to have to come through. And without breaking the bad news to you too hard, that kind of the back teeth don't come through until about 6 months. So you may have like a good month and a half of his teething and his chewing increasing, and with that may come some nipping as well. So kind of back to the bitey Reggie that you have got rid of, and that Reggie is likely to return. In terms of the like the frothy stuff, is that any particular time of the day?
No, it was all, I was thinking he was doing a lot on Sunday, which is the day he was constipated, and no, it was throughout the day actually.
Okay. I
Not
was going to
not
say,
loads. You must, yeah.
yeah. Okay. So sometimes the reason I ask that is because sometimes they can have like hunger pukes. So when they're a bit peckish, when they're a bit hungry,
Okay.
and that
Yeah.
white is almost like a frothy,
Yeah. It's
like
nothing.
a
It's
frothy
not. Yeah.
saliva.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly
Yes.
that. Yeah.
So that can be a sign that they're a bit hungry. There's
Okay.
You might also hear if he is hungry, you might hear his tummy rumbling as well. Is he
Right.
up to date with worming?
Yeah. Well, I actually I was going to call the vet on that. That's a good point because they gave me worming. So he took a pill like because we got him in December. So like
Mhm.
December, January, February. And then I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing now. It's exactly a month since his last pill. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. I've got a pill for him to take. I don't know what that is in April. They've given us another something else. What would that be?
Okay.
I don't know. He'd
I
be
would
6 months at that point.
I would give
Yeah.
them a ring. So it's not
Okay.
uncommon. It's not uncommon for young pups to get worms.
Okay.
And like a variety, and because he's out in the garden as
Yeah.
well. Obviously,
Mm.
frogs aren't going to help. Frogs don't carry worms, though, so that's a good thing. But we do have to be careful with like the other types of worms. So,
Yeah,
it-
snail. He loves a snail. Yeah.
yeah,
We tried to
slugs,
stop him, but
snails
mm,
carry other worms as well. So yeah,
yeah.
have a chat with your vet
I'll call the vet.
and see,
Yeah.
because different brands of wormers will have different like different times that they need to be given. And especially with
Mm,
younger
mm,
puppies, they're always given more frequently, and then they go a bit longer. So it might be
yeah.
a month, 3 months, 6 months,
Yeah.
depending on what brand it
Yeah.
is.
Right.
So
Okay.
that's always worth checking. Obviously,
Mm,
with when you give a worm afterwards, then expect that you might see worms or that you might have a runny tummy. You might feel a
mm,
bit off just
mm-hmm,
while they're kind of going through
mm.
his system. It's not
Yeah.
uncommon for worms either. Various different types. It doesn't always have to be the same kind of scary looking
Okay.
type.
Yeah.
Um, and in terms of the frothing,
Mm,
like making sure that he's not eaten anything that he shouldn't have. So like
mm.
bits of Lego, chewed bits of
Yeah.
bedding, chewed, all sorts of stuff, because that that can potentially obstruct, doesn't pass. And sometimes we need to
Yeah.
be conscious of
I
what they
mean that
might be eating.
that is the tricky part when you live with children who are, you know, yeah, it's not so much Lego. Well, no, it is. He gets hold of a pencil, and before you know it, what's Reggie got? And he's half chewed a pencil, and it's things like that. We try to be careful. And the other day, he got hold of a bathroom sponge, and you know what it's like. You can turn your back for 2 seconds, putting away some washing, turn my back, and he ripped apart this sponge, and I was like, oh, Christ. We just you try to keep your eye on them all the time. It's like toddlers. It's like impossible to, but yeah, that's my fear that he's going to obstruct his bowels because he's eaten something he shouldn't have done, and um, but we do try very hard. But yeah, it's
It is difficult. It is really difficult, and especially when as soon as literally like you blink and they're up to
yeah.
something. Um, the thing of I don't know if you've got any like stairgates up or anything like that, just to like
Mm.
minimize his access around the house, so
Yes,
that
no, we have. Yeah, yeah.
he's in a particular place when you're doing something, or if you can't keep an eye on him, then put him in that particular place so that he's kind of,
Yeah,
yeah, okay, he's got a pen, hasn't he? A pen with a crate.
yeah, no, yeah, not anymore. No,
Okay.
he doesn't. So we took the pen down. We've still got the crate just there as part of the sort of furniture, just in case I ever have to use it for one reason or another, just so he's familiar with it. I don't know if that's worth it, but no, he
Yeah,
now
absolutely
sleeps
is.
in a bed. I mean, he sleeps in the living room. We close all the doors and everything, and he just sleeps in a little bed, and he's fine. I mean, I've got a camera thing, so I see what he's up to, and touch wood, no issues with that. So yeah, so I gave up on the crate because he seemed to prefer that. Plenty of
Yeah,
blankets and stuff.
absolutely fine. Yeah, and it's whatever
Yeah.
suits really. Obviously, I am a
Mm.
big advocate of the crate, because if they are ever go to like the vets or anything, then they
The
will be
vet,
crate.
yeah,
Um, it's,
yeah,
it's,
that was
it's
my only concern. Yeah, that's why I
yeah,
kept it. Cause I was like, but anyway, he seems settled as it is.
yeah,
So
yeah, and it's what works for you ultimately. It's your lifestyle, and he's fitting into that, and that's fine. If he's
yeah,
sleeping in a bed in the living room, that's fine. Um, that he may go through. So bearing in mind that he may be coming into that really chewy stage. So making sure that your soft furnishings are kind of away from him, or if your camera's on, then making sure that he's, making sure that he is asleep and he's not kind of milling around your living room and going, this cushion looks really tempting, it looks like it's going to soothe my toothache, and before you know it, you'll have
Yeah.
exploded cushions.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
something to bear in mind, that if you
Yeah.
can't supervise him, then it could
But
be
the thing,
extra.
bless him, he's got a bit of change coming up because we're having our house renovated. So we're moving out for 5 or 6 months. We're
Wow.
renting a house for a couple of months. Luckily, it's our furniture, but I have seen pictures of the damage some dogs have done to skirting boards and things. So slightly nervous, especially as it's a new environment for him. But I don't think he'll be on his own, apart from at night. I don't think he'll be on his own much because we're going to be working from home and whatever.
Okay.
And then we moved to another house that we've got down in on the south coast. So that'll be for a few more months. So he's got a bit of change ahead of him, which it's unfortunately coincides still with some adolescence. But,
Mm.
we can't revolve our lives around his,
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes what happens is that actually because he's still with you and because he's still with the family, then you may find that he's actually more accommodating that than what you think he will
yeah,
be.
yeah,
Um, if you do get the opportunity, I know you said that you're obviously moving into rented for a few months. If you get the
mm,
opportunity to, then like take Reggie for a look round. So take him to
yeah,
go and have a little mooch around. So it's not completely new
yeah,
for him, but
okay,
expect setbacks as well. So a brand new
yeah,
environment for a young puppy can be a little bit upsetting, but then age-wise and age appropriate would potentially see him regress in his sleep anyway. So there may be a combination of both that are going to come quite
right,
soon.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's 2 months away. We move in mid-May, so and we get the access to the house a week before we move in. So
Yeah,
we can he can, and it's near our current house, so we can just take him and let him have a mooch about.
yeah,
So he, yes, as you say, familiarise himself.
and a really random thing, and you'll think I'm a bit crazy when I say this, but a blanket
Mm,
that he sleeps on, just get the
yeah,
blanket and around about kind of where his nose is, so
yeah,
whatever, maybe like 6-8 inches off the ground, something like that.
yeah.
Literally wipe the blanket around all of downstairs so that it smells like
Oh,
him. So
okay.
it makes him feel a little bit
Oh,
more reassured.
yeah. Oh,
And
okay.
especially if
Brilliant.
there's been
Yeah,
any
yeah,
animals in there previously as well, because their smell will
yeah,
be
yeah,
there.
yeah. No, I don't think there are any. But okay, that's a good tip. Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
but that will, yeah, I mean, ultimately, a house move is stressful for us. So it's always going to be
Mm,
there's always going to be an element of stress on our dogs. So just give him
mm,
time.
mm.
Obviously, you'll be going out for different walks. I assume you'll be going out for different places for walks, or is
Well,
it
when we
so
move
close?
down to the New Forest, we will be. Yeah, I mean, better because there's so much open space there. It'd be great for him.
Yeah,
I think he'll love it.
yeah,
Um, and I'll be more chilled because that actually is my house. So it's kind of, I don't care really. And there's all, I mean, the family dog that my mum's got currently. My mum doesn't live. It was her old house.
okay,
I grew up there, and it's the house we just. It's now my house, second house. And we go down when I see my family. We stay there. So but always had a dog in the house, and so there are doors that have got scratch marks on them and God knows what else. It's a fairly dogged house. So I kind of don't mind if he it's he can. I don't mind if he starts to. I do mind, but you know what I mean. It's not quite
yeah. It's not going to be
terrible.
completely the end of the world. It's not like it's a
No.
brand new world that you've just it's your prized possession in terms of nothing can get damaged.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a carpet that needs replacing anyway, I guess is my point. It just
yeah.
doesn't matter
Okay.
so much.
But yeah, just
Yeah.
just taking
Mm,
your time with him and realizing that it's okay for him to go backwards. It's okay that
mm,
some of the stuff he will go backwards in, which is very normal. And it's
mm,
about us going right back to that
mm.
basics of, taking him out for the toilet, reminding him that it's okay to sleep on his own, putting him into his bed, making sure that he's having lots of
Yeah,
time spent at his bed as well, so he can have his chews, but they're at the bed. Um,
yeah,
it may be that you introduce his crate again. It may be that his bed goes into his crate, and then
yeah,
that appears in the new houses, as you move in, so
yeah,
that at least he's got a consistent bedroom, if you like.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah.
he's moving from one place, so that even if the grate's open, that's fine. But as long as he then
Yeah.
has got a space that he can go to and retire should he feel
Yeah.
overwhelmed or a little bit worried, then he's got that place. Because it
Yeah.
is a big thing.
Yeah, no, I am. I am taking him into account. I know might not be straightforward for him. But the good thing is that we have a lad that looks after like a nanny. But he's male. Looks after our two boys. And Reggie loves him, absolutely adores him, and he's just moved in actually to our house for a while, and he's agreed very kindly to look after him while we go on holiday and things like that. So
Oh,
I
yeah,
feel really good about that, because he's like a family member, I'm sure, as far as Reggie's concerned. He's been in his life since he's come to us. So yeah, no, that's
yeah, absolutely. And it's somebody that he knows, someone that he trusts. So when
yeah,
you're not there, at least
yeah,
uh, Reggie knows that there's somebody familiar around. Yeah, yeah, that's
exactly.
nice.
So that's
That's a
great.
nice thing.
Yeah, we feel quite lucky, blessed in that regard. So yeah, so those were my bits. Yeah, next time I'll be with Reggie. So sorry
Yeah,
about that.
no, that's absolutely fine. I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes it's just having that conversation, isn't it, to find out
yeah.
where you're at and what you're doing, and how is kind of his training going? Are you actually doing much sort of physical training with him, or are you just kind of going with
Not
the flow?
really. Just going with the flow. I mean, we do a bit of sort of sit, and he still needs that. We still need the one thing that we need to kind of focus on is recall. We need to do all that. He does a bit, but it's all a bit, kind of. But no, we haven't done. Um,
Okay.
sorry, let me get rid of this. We haven't, yeah, focused on that side of things.
Yeah. Okay.
We
'Cause when
just have plenty of time for that. We'll get to it.
yeah, yeah, there's loads of time. What I would say is when it
Mm,
does hit adolescence, that's when you will know
mm,
exactly when he's in adolescence, because he'll
mm.
become more independent and you'll take him off his lead. And currently he's obviously quite close to you.
Yeah, yeah,
One day you'll take him off and he'll be like, "Oh, they look interesting. I'm going over to
yeah.
this." Like, where are you going?
Yeah,
And reducing that down, a long line clipped onto a harness so that he can have free
yeah,
roam, but ultimately you've got a little bit of control over what
yeah,
he's doing. So when that day comes, which it will do pretty soon, I'm sure,
yeah, yeah,
um, having him just attached, you can just have the long line just trailing. It doesn't have to be, you don't
yeah.
have to be kind of like a cowboy with it all rolled up or anything like that. You can just let him
Mm,
have free roam, and
yeah,
you've got a hold of him as well. And you can
yeah.
practice your recall using that as well. But yeah, like you say, you've got
Mm,
plenty of
mm,
time to get your techniques in place, in terms of actual training stuff. But yeah, I
mm-hmm.
think that nothing that you're saying to me is like, oh, that's out of character, or you've got a broken Daxi, or anything like
Yeah, I hope not. I know it can change. Anything like children, it can change from one week to the next very short, suddenly. But it's just keep vigilant. But yeah, no, so far we're doing all right, I think.
Yeah, you sound like you're doing good.
Mm,
It's all about having those boundaries, having those expectations. So ultimately, he's very, very, very young. I mean, he's been with you what, three
mm,
months, 4 months?
mm-hmm. Yeah, three.
Um, Great. Yeah, December, wasn't it? Was it December you got
Yes,
him?
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, early December, yeah.
Yeah. So in that short period of time, we have to look at that bigger picture of how far he actually has come in that time as well. And
Yeah,
by what you're saying, quite a long way he's come in that time.
yeah, yeah, and gained at least about 3 kilos. He's not fat, don't get me wrong, but he's already about 5, just over 5. It's just, I think that's just his size, He's still
And,
very
and
slim, but
yeah, some
I
of them
guess
are bigger built than others. The same with
they,
humans.
yeah, yeah. As I really noticed that in the park. They really do. I mean, they're all the same shape, but they do come in different sizes. Don't they? I mean, there's some tiny ones. Obviously, some are standards and all got standard in them and whatever.
Hmm.
But I'm always intrigued by just the variety of yeah, shapes and sizes, and they all look different. Before you have them, you think a lot of them look the same, but they all look different. They just, you know.
when the restrictions start lifting in on your sausage dog walks, have you got a local one to you, a sausage dog group?
I'm on the Kent one, but Kent's a big county, so a lot of them aren't close really. But no, I haven't found one that's like local yet.
Okay. I was going to say, I'm sure
Mm,
there will be one. If
yeah,
not in
yeah,
Kent, then in your other in the New Forest, I'm sure there will be one around there somewhere as well.
yeah.
But yeah, when you go on those, and I mean, I think the biggest one that I've ever been on, there was probably about 100.
Mm,
And they are literally every different shape, size.
yeah,
But the one thing they have got in common is they all bark very similar.
yeah.
Oh, you should have a chat
Really,
then.
really.
All bark and really loud. The loud
Yeah,
bark or the very high pitched, excited bark.
yeah.
But yeah, they once one starts, then that's it. The whole lot will then start, and
Oh look.
it's really interesting to watch them as well,
Mm,
because you're able to
mm,
see like how some of them behave with others
mm,
as well. And there's always like the rowdy one. There's the one that
mm.
the owners are a bit like, oh, well, we're not bothering with our dog today. We're just going to unclip him and let him go and do what he wants to do. And everyone
Mm.
else is like, your dog's a bit of a nightmare. Can you kind of
Yeah,
put your dog back on the lead?
yeah,
um,
yeah.
and then there's like me with Chip, and we're either right at the back because she doesn't want to particularly walk in close proximity to everyone else, or we're right at the
Mm,
front. But she's not a big fan of milling around in the middle with all the other
yeah,
dogs. But yeah,
yeah,
they're definitely interesting if you get to go on them.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
but
Well,
yeah, and
yeah, no,
just
I
to
was
see
thinking of
how they
fun.
interact with
Mm.
each other as well, which is quite nice.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm just biased, but I do see that he does seem to like other Daxies a lot more than other.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, obviously there's some dogs, bless him, he got very excited by a Great Dane the other day, and I was like, hey, Reg, that's one bottom you just cannot smell, my friend. It's literally
Get the
this
ladders
dog's
out.
up. It's up to my nose, let alone his. Oh, it was really, yeah, it's so funny because the owner, because I said something to Reg along those lines, and he went, the owner was American, went, hey, Reg, you just got to shoot for the stars, man. You just, if you want to sniff that bottom, you can do whatever you, it was really funny. So, yeah.
They
Oh,
are
dear.
funny, and it's just because they don't see themselves as being small, which is one thing that I
No.
really love about them. And they always think that they're kind of like Doberman, Rottweiler kind of size, like oh, like
Yeah.
big dogs. And then when you get a really big dog, so you Great Danes, and they're kind of like oh, and then it's almost like the bemusement on their face when they're like oh, actually, why can't I have a
Yeah.
sniff?
Yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah,
that's
they
good.
are they are a they are a breed of their own, definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
Cool.
is there anything else that you were kind of struggling with? Is that answered kind of the
No,
questions that you had around?
yeah. Yeah, no, it does. I mean, you said about the barking, there are times he'll just bark at nothing in the back garden, either in the garden or it was more when he's inside and looking out the patio door, he's just like, what are you barking at, Reg? What are you barking? He's just barking. But he doesn't do it for long and he soon kind of stops and, you know, m- moves on to something else. So I'm not overly worried about it. If it becomes a problem, then I might, but I,
Mm,
I guess.
I mean, as soon as he kind of barks, you can just use I don't know if we've gone through the three thank yous. So
Mm,
when they start barking out of the window, I mean, my dog does it. We've got
yeah.
Wi-Fi in the back of our house, and
Mm.
we actually had a fox in the garden yesterday, which
Oh,
certainly
yeah,
in the
yeah.
daytime as well, I was a bit like, oh, well, there's a fox in the
Yeah,
day. That's not
yeah.
what I was expecting. And she was going mad. She was going literally like barking like crazy at the window. And I was like,
Mm,
what's she barking at? And I just literally said, thank you. And then she stops barking, looks at me as if to go, oh, all right,
mm,
okay, you've got you're in control of the situation. You know what's happening here.
mm,
So there's a process called the three thank yous, and the first one literally it starts when our dogs start barking, they're likely to have like a
mm-hmm.
string of barks, and then they take a little breath in. At that point, we
Yep.
literally
Mm-hmm.
don't get up, don't look at them, just say thank you, really nice and
Mm-hmm.
lightly. And
Yep.
what you're doing is you're almost like interrupting what they're doing. So the
Mm-hmm.
first part is
Mm-hmm.
they're alerting you and you're acknowledging. And then
Yep.
the likelihood is they'll carry on for that second string of barks.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get up, don't pay any attention to Reggie, but go to the door if it's the
Mm-hmm.
door that he's barking at. or the window, whatever it is he's barking at, whatever you think he's barking at, go and stand in front of him so your back's to him, and then just say thank you out of the window, thank you, and then walk
Right.
away.
Okay.
And what you're looking for is that he starts walking away with you. If he
Mhm.
continues to bark at the window, then just pop him into timeout for a couple of minutes.
Yep.
So timeout would literally be out of the room, just into a different room.
Yep.
They're not using a bed or a crate or anything like that. Literally just out of the
Yeah.
room, away from, so his view is blocked. And then let him back in really slowly. So use the door nice and slowly to bring him back in. And timeout is like maximum of 2 minutes for a very young dog. And you're just looking for him to just calm down slightly before you let him back in the room. And when he comes back in, if he goes straight back over and goes straight back to barking at the window, then just go back to step one. So just thank you. And it's all about us remaining really calm and him understanding that there's a consequence to crazy barking at the window. So although I know it's not a problem at the moment, knowing the breed, it will manifest and it will kind of escalate. So it's best to get in there sooner rather than later with that one.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. I'm glad I covered that then. All right. We'll give that a go next time which he will do probably in the next 24 hours. Anyway.
I'm sure he will do. I'm sure he will. It's something that happens daily.
Yeah.
Well, and she's 4 years old, so but it does work. It's effective, and it's all about us just saying, yeah, actually, I've heard you. It's fine. Don't worry about it. You don't need to be on guard all the time. Move away from the window.
Yeah. I think sometimes he does see things when it's night, particularly. I think like there's there's one cat that's like lived there for donkey's years and uses our patio as like a cut through. That sends him off the whatever. And then we've got foxes everywhere, urban foxes where we are, and there's definitely a den at the very end of our garden. And so I think that, and they're really confident ones, and they're like that, day and night, they just do not care. And I think sometimes, he catches them, and they literally, even if we go shoo, they just look at you like that. Yeah, what are you going to do?
You're like,
I'm not. Yeah.
It was like me yesterday, and I'm sure the fox came out of my greenhouse. I'm absolutely sure it did.
Yeah.
But yeah, as it went at such a speed over the back. We've got like the shed and the fence at the back, and it actually took the fence panel out as it jumped over the fence.
Oh wow!
It took the fence panel and squashed the fence panel down. I was like, whoa, he was in a rush, or she was in a rush.
Yeah.
A big fox in comparison to
big
what
one.
So I don't know whether maybe a female got some cubs somewhere or something, but
maybe
she was big.
Could be protecting. Yeah.
But anyway, yes, well, I hope that answered all your questions.
Yes, it did. Thank you. It's very helpful. Thank you so much, Katie. Thank you.
That's okay. You're welcome. Feel free in between sessions, if you have any questions, then please feel free to drop them over via email. And I'll get this recording over to you so you've got it.
Yeah.
And I'll drop the 3 thank yous. There's a little video for 3 thank yous you can watch on there as well.
Oh, great.
And then and then just feel free to book your next session in when you're ready.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, well, you take care. Enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll speak to you soon.
Take care. Bye. Take care. Bye.
Bye.